Welcome to today's Explainer. I am super excited to guide you through the absolute must-know general knowledge updates for May 13th, 2026. We're cutting right through the noise and diving straight into the pure insights.
All right, here's the docket for today. We're hitting four major pillars: the ongoing need crisis, India's water governance, AI stepping into the Supreme Court, and some shifting geopolitics. So lock in and pay close attention, because we are going to test your retention with a quick MCQ assessment right at the end.
Okay, Section 1. Let's get right into the NEET exam cancellation facts and the latest 2026 updates.
The sheer scale of this thing, it is honestly staggering. We're talking about over 23 lakh students. That's 2.3 million aspiring doctors, totally impacted by this sudden, widespread cancellation. I mean, think about it. These students pour years of their lives into this, sacrificing their health, sleep, and time, only to hit this massive, demoralizing roadblock right after taking the test.
And look, this didn't just happen in a vacuum. Ever since it rolled out back in 2013, the NEET exam has been completely dogged by controversies. Whether it's sudden changes in the exam pattern, truly heartbreaking student tragedies, or those recurring leak allegations, the trust has just been eroding for years. We saw a massive uproar back in 2024, and well, it's all culminated in this year's complete and total cancellation.
So how exactly did the dominoes fall this time? The primary trigger was actually a whistleblower. They flagged a highly accurate guest paper that was floating around the market and on platforms like Telegram just days after the exam. And this wasn't just some lucky guess, right? Multiple questions were literally identical to the actual exam. This pre-planned leak immediately triggered a CBI investigation, leading to several arrests, as authorities now have to sift through over 1.5 lakh CCTV records just to find the root of the breach. Moving on to Section 2, Water Governance Crisis Data. Let's talk about India's water paradox. We are facing what is arguably the ultimate paradox. India supports roughly a fifth of humanity, nearly 20% of the entire global population. But get this, we only possess a tiny 4% fraction of the world's fresh water. And to make it even more complicated, India actually receives about 4,000 billion cubic meters of rainfall every year. But because of poor storage infrastructure, we only manage to successfully use about 1,100 billion cubic meters of it. The rest, it just goes to waste.
In fact, according to Niti Aayog's Composite Water Management Index, over 600 million Indians are dealing with extreme water stress right now. And it's not just a lack of rain, it's a massive issue of institutional fragmentation. We've got different ministries at the union level, state levels, and local bodies, and they just aren't coordinating. To put that into perspective, our per capita water availability has plummeted from about 5,000 cubic meters at independence to roughly 1,400 cubic meters today. That is a steep, steep drop.
So, to combat this governance bottleneck, there are some major countermeasures in play. A big one is the Jal Jeevan mission. The goal here is absolutely vital, ensuring functional tap water reaches every single rural home, providing clean, accessible drinking water. It's so critical that the mission has actually been extended to 2028 just to keep the momentum going. At the same time, you have the Atal Bhujal Yojana targeting our severely overextracted aquifers. India accounts for a whopping 25% of all global groundwater extraction, mostly driven by agricultural bore wells and tube wells. This specific scheme steps in to prioritize sustainable groundwater management, basically trying to ensure we aren't completely draining the water table dry for future generations.
All right, pivoting to Section 3, Digital Judiciary and AI, specifically looking at tech in the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court just rolled out two huge initiatives to tackle case tracking. First up is OCOD, which stands for One Case, One Data. This is a game changer. It integrates fragmented records from subordinate courts all the way up to the Supreme Court into one unified digital trail. This makes tracking seamless and stops those annoying duplicate entries. Alongside that, they've launched Sahayak. It's a text-based AI chatbot right on the Supreme Court website, delivering instant case statuses and legal info directly to the public.
And these new systems are joining an already impressive suite of AI tools. Take Suvas, for example, which is actively used to translate incredibly complex English legal judgments into regional languages. And then there's Supace, which processes massive amounts of facts and data to directly assist Supreme Court judges with their workflow. The judiciary is digitizing at lightning speed.
Finally, let's jump into Section 4, Trade and Geopolitics Hub. We're looking at global pacts and regional conflicts.
First off, you need to know this critical distinction when we talk about international trade. A comprehensive economic partnership agreement, or CEPA, is way broader than your standard free trade agreement, or FTA. While an FTA mostly just focuses on slashing tariffs on goods, a CEPA goes the whole 9 yards, comprehensively covering goods, services, investments, and wider economic cooperation.
Now, why does that matter today? Because our brand new CEPA with Oman goes live on June 1st. Oman is a huge strategic partner for us. They grant India access to the Duqm port and, importantly, let us utilize the Salalah and Sohar ports. These ports are a vital gateway, literally helping Indian goods bypass regional bottlenecks to efficiently reach other Gulf Cooperation Council countries, like the UAE and Saudi Arabia. But meanwhile, regional stability in that very area is under serious threat. In ongoing geopolitical developments, the UAE has retaliated against Iran by striking a refinery on the strategically vital Lavan Island, sometimes called the Hidden Pearl Island. This really highlights the escalating tensions right near the Strait of Hormuz, which is an area the entire global economy heavily relies on.
Okay, the intelligence briefing is officially over. Now it's time to test your active recall with a quick knowledge check based on the data we literally just covered. Let's see how much you retained.
Question 1. Think back to the whistleblower we discussed earlier. What was the primary reason for the NEET UG cancellation? Was it A, evidence of a prior paper leak, or B, widespread technical failures? Remember those Telegram channels? The answer is A. It was evidence that the question paper had been leaked prior to the exam.
Moving on, regarding the Supreme Court's new AI tool, Su Sahayak, is it A, a voice-activated AI, or B, a text-based AI chatbot? Lock in your answer. It is B, a text-based AI chatbot that gives you info on case status.
Okay, let's analyze the visual map from our geopolitics segment. Look closely here. Why is the Strait of Hormuz considered one of the world's absolute most critical maritime choke points?
If you guess B, you hit the nail on the head. It's the vital artery connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. It essentially controls massive global oil flows and serves as the main exit valve for West Asia's energy supplies.
And finally, our trade definition check. How does a CPA differ from an FTA? Well, unlike a standard FTA, which is much more limited, a CEPA comprehensively covers the whole shebang: goods, services, investments, and wider economic cooperation.
And that wraps up today's explainer. We've traversed everything from domestic education and water crises to judicial AI and international trade corridors. So as technology scales and global pathways shift, the ultimate question is, how will these underlying foundational systems adapt to all this pressure? Process these insights carefully, and I will see you in the next explainer.